जिससे शुरुआत करते हैं आज के समिट की। दिस इज गंगा एंथम बाय ट्रिचर ब्रदर्स।
भगवती तव तीरे नीरमद्रशनोऽहम् भगवती तव तीरे नीरमद्रशनोऽहम् विगतविषयतृष्णा कृष्णमाराधयामि विगतविषयतृष्णा कृष्णमाराधयामि सकलकलुषभङ्गे स्वर्गसोपानसङ्गे सकलकलुषभङ्गे स्वर्गसोपानसङ्गे तरलतरतरङ्गे देवी गंगे प्रसीद 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 नमामि गंगे नमामि गंगे स्वर्ग की परछाइयाँ दिखती तेरे आंचल तले माँ तेरी हर बूंद में बहती हुई ममता मिले तू हथेली तन पे फेरे मन को भी निर्मल करे जिस तरह को तू छुए जीवन से उसको सींच दे लेके आया है कोई बस पाप तुझको सौंपने फिर भी तू बहती चले सबको लगा करके गले स्वाद अमृत का तुझे ही झूम कर जाना प्रसीद 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 नमामि गंगे 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 पानी जो तेरा खारा तेरे आंसू की धारा कैसे मैं देखूं संतान हो माना है तुझे माँ ये धर्म है मेरा मैं तुझे तेरा वो सम्मान दूं
हिमालय की चोटी से निकली गंगा जब धरती पे आती हैं तो अनेकों अनेक शहरों को पानी देते हुए बढ़ती हैं। मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंटली अनगिनत खेतों को सींचते हुए आगे बढ़ती हैं। अब वो तो अपना पूर्ण योगदान दे रही हैं धरती को सींचने की, खेतों को पानी से सराबोर करने की, हमें अन्न प्रदान करने की। लेकिन क्या उनके इस योगदान का हम सही रूप में इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं? सिंचाई के दौरान सीमित मात्रा में जल का इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, और फिर क्या हम उन्हें एग्रीकल्चर वेस्ट से दूषित तो नहीं कर रहे हैं? जी हाँ, आज का डिस्कशन इसी टॉपिक पे होना है, एंड दैट इज एग्रीकल्चर. This is day 4 of 5th India Water Impact Summit organized by NMCG and C Ganga. A very very good afternoon. ये summit जिसमें देश विदेश से कई सारे experts एक ही platform पे आते हैं, पानी से जुड़ी, नदियों से जुड़ी अपने achievements को, problems को, उनके solutions को discuss करने के लिए. जी हाँ, आज की जो ये theme है agriculture, इसी पे आगे बात करने के लिए, अपना पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू शेयर करने के लिए और हमारे ऑनरेबल गेस्ट का वेलकम करने के लिए अब मैं आमंत्रित करना चाहूंगी डॉक्टर विनोद तारे जी को. डॉक्टर तारे इज द फाउंडिंग हेड ऑफ सेंटर फॉर गंगा रिवर बेसिन मैनेजमेंट एंड स्टडीज एट IIT कानपुर. ही इज अ सिविल इंजीनियर, obtained his master's and doctoral degrees in environmental engineering from IIT Kanpur. He has dedicated his life to serve the academic world and engage in research and development activities. और तभी तो ये दिल से जुड़े हुए हैं इस मिशन से, और डे 1 से लेकर आज तक जितने भी सेशंस हुए हैं, इनका महत्वपूर्ण योगदान रहा है इसमें. So, Dr. Tare, over to you, sir. Welcome once again.
Thank you very much. Namaskar. Very good morning, very good afternoon to the participants from all over the world. I am really delighted that we are now on the actually 5th day, though the working day is only 4th day of the event. Today's theme is related to the agriculture. I am very happy that we have two very prominent speakers with us. Dr. Alka Bhargav, Additional Secretary, Agricultural Cooperation and Farmers Welfare. We also have with us Dr. Neelam Patel. She is a Senior Advisor, Agriculture, Niti Aayog, and we will have the benefit of listening to them, their perspectives on the topic. But before I request, I would like to give a brief on the summit, how we are organizing, and in what sequence we are discussing the issues. As you all know, we are looking at the topic of this particular summit is comprehensive analysis and holistic management of local rivers and water bodies. This comes from our understanding that if we have to actually restore, conserve big rivers like Ganga, of course whatever work we have done on the mainstem of Ganga, that is important. That has given us some immediate short-term results. Some of them of course will be sustainable as well, but then if we really want to make a long-term sustainable efforts on river conservation, and river conservation alone cannot be sustainable, that has to be linked to our economy. So development and river conservation has to go hand in hand, okay? And that can happen on a sustainable way only when, though we, from the policy perspective, from knowledge creation perspective, and guiding principle approach can be top down, but if the efforts have to start in a sustainable way, they have to be bottom up, okay? So they have to start from local rivers, they have to start from local water bodies. And when I say rivers, river is considered as a body, and its body is completely the river basin. And all water bodies, be it wetlands, be it reservoirs, artificially made or naturally made, be it wetlands, they are all part of the river body, right? And one cannot be seen without the other. Okay, and if you want to regenerate, restore, conserve river, those water bodies also have to be conserved. And those water bodies are actually, it appears to be the surface reservoir, surface storage, but they also feed into substantially our groundwater reserve. And groundwater is the maximum, largest space that we have for storing our rainwater. And so the natural water bodies, surface water bodies, as well as artificial water bodies that we make, they play an important role in conveying the water that gets stored into them into the groundwater also. And it is the groundwater which storage is what we are focusing on and should be focused on, because our groundwater has been depleted, and as a result of that, many of our rivers which were influent, which were perennial because of the base flow that used to come from groundwater, has now depleted substantially. Not only depleted, whatever water that we put in the surface also get infiltrated into the ground. And even if we are releasing water from the upstream side, we don't see that in the downstream side. So just releasing water from the upstream side is not going to give us the desired result. We also have to make sure that our base flows are maintained. And it is in this context the water bodies and rivers both are important. Okay. And we have to start this effort in a localized way, starting from the bottom. So each and every water body, each and every small river is very important, that feeds into the higher order river further into another higher order river, and ultimately terminating into a big river like Ganga or Yamuna or whatever. So comprehensive analysis and holistic management of local rivers and water bodies is a very important thing. And river conservation cannot be achieved unless until we see it also in relation to development. And that is where we are using a very powerful and important gift that our Prime Minister has given to us in the first Ganga Council meeting. He has given us a very powerful gift as a lens. And that lens, we call it as Earth Ganga lens, right? So we are looking at this aspect through the lens of Earth Ganga. And that in real sense means that river conservation, synchronized development. So development is important, but it should be synchronized with river conservation. And both of them are complementary to each other. If you conserve river, it feeds into the sustainability of development. If we develop, that allows us the luxury of spending money for river conservation purposes. So they are complementary to each other, and that's why I say it's a very powerful gift, powerful lens that the Honorable Prime Minister has given to us, Earth Ganga, and we are taking clue from that. And the whole objective of this summit is basically to try to understand how powerful this lens is and how we can use this lens to satisfy both ends. Okay, and when we talk about development, okay, development typically can be looked at, and this is what we look at it from different sectors of economy, right? So we look at development from various, like we talk about urban and rural. In general, we can call it as human settlement. Okay. Then another sector that we look at of development is energy, be it energy generation, be it energy demand. And of course, we are now understand that both generation, distribution and demand management is what we have to look at it in totality. When we talk about rivers, water bodies, the tourism is essentially happens because of the beauty of the water bodies flowing or large reservoirs. So tourism is always around water. And when we increase the tourism activity, obviously we need to talk about creating some kind of infrastructure, be it making roads, be it making hotels, be it creating any other facilities for the tourists, okay, and that obviously has its own impact or effect on the rivers and the water bodies itself. And if the rivers and water bodies are not maintained, then the tourism also will automatically not happen. Nobody will like to go to stinky place, smelly place, dry place, okay. So both river and tourism, or water and tourism, are interconnected and both feed into each other. The next and most important sector on which our life depends on is the food, right? And that food comes to us from the agriculture sector. And it's important, like for example, in the last 40-50 years, we have made substantial improvements in our food security through green revolution and many other efforts. At the same time, we are also now facing the challenge of sustaining that kind of agriculture, right? Okay, so, and the agriculture itself is impacting our water body. Substantial amount of water, be it from subsurface or be it from surface, directly taken from the rivers through canals or reservoirs being created and then water withdrawn. So water is taken, and as a result, that has impacted the health of our rivers. Okay, and because of the depletion of the water, be it groundwater or not availability of perennial river, again impacts the agriculture sector. So again, they play a complementary role, and we have to make sure that both we see it very effectively through the lens of Earth Ganga. Okay, similarly, I can go on and on, but other sectors I will elaborate because navigation and flood management is the topic we are looking at on the last day of the summit, and we will talk more about that. But all of these sectors, if you look at it very carefully, they also feed into the climate change business, right? And climate change is another very heavy duty that we have to pay to adapt to it, to face the hazards of that, okay? And if you can make sure that we do river conservation, and again another very important tool or lens, I would say, that the Honorable Prime Minister has given in the form of what is called as vocal for local. Now this is again a very important thing, because if you honestly believe and implement the vocal for local tool, okay, it essentially means that we are minimizing on our transport, right? That we adopt local goods, we use local services, we do not encourage transport of whether human beings or of our goods and services, right? And if transportation is minimized, automatically the energy requirement goes down, right? And energy is one big factor which is responsible for climate change, right? So all these sectors, if you see it from the Earth Ganga perspective, it will also feed into a very big and large economic sector, that is climate change. Okay, so all these sectors will have an impact on climate change. Okay, and this is where we want to look at. So the objective of this summit is essentially to understand and evolve the concept of Earth Ganga. Okay, so we need to look at this lens very carefully and how effectively we can use it to look at the micro thing as well as a very long-term perspective, right? So this is a lens which allows us to have a look in a very magnified way. It also allows us in a telescopic way to look far from where we are today. So it's very important that we look at it, and that's the job that in the Niti Aayog we are doing. That's the job that we are doing in NMCG, and that is also to some extent we are doing in Sea Ganga, and Sea Ganga means all academic institutions that are involved. And all the three have to work together and eventually transmit that thing to the line departments, line ministry and so on and so forth, so that we give them a strategy for implementation on the ground, right? And that is why we have this summit, and in this summit for today's thing, the focus is on agriculture. I just would like to say about the last slide. Typically, government is the one who is responsible for guiding things at the national level, right? And at the state level, okay. And they get at least seemingly apparent two counter opinions, okay? One side talking about river conservation, the other side is talking about development. Now, river conservation is typically seen to be the subject or advocacy of our faith leaders or civil society organizations, and development is typically seen as the sector in which the interest is of industry, business, contractor groups and so on and so forth. And these two are big lions, and appears that both these lions are roaring at the government, and the government is kind of fixed with how to resolve these two sides, which apparently appears to be the contradictory. And this happens because the one side is very high on traditional knowledge and wisdom. They look at it in very, very long-term perspective. The other side is very high on modern science, modern tools, and typically worry about short-term, medium-term perspective, because when we talk about economics, we talk about politics also. Our tenure is generally 3 to 5 years or so. So that's the short-term tenure that you have. But truly speaking, these two, are they necessarily roaring at each other, or we can use the power of these two lions to make it into one huge effort, one huge support system, which we can call it as Earth Ganga, right? So if we look at both these aspects through the lens of Earth Ganga, what appears to be two lions roaring at each other can be a very powerful lion for us, which can take us very rapidly. And that means if you can make sure that river conservation and development are the two faces of the same coin, and that is what we are talking about. And if you want to do that, our philosophy has to be apply modern science, use new concepts, bring in new solutions, new innovations, technologies, but when we apply them with traditional wisdom. And that is where we need to listen to the people, their tradition, their wisdom, and so on and so forth. And this has been our approach while preparing the Ganga River Basin Management Plan as well, that combine Gyan Dhara plus Janagyan. Okay, and this is what, in my opinion, and Sri Ganga's perspective, should also be the philosophy if you want to take Earth Ganga forward. Okay, so in that context, in the last summit, we came up with a manual and the challenges that we face on this. So with this, our today's topic is agriculture, and we will like to listen from the concerned experts. Who else can be better than the Niti Aayog senior advisor agriculture to talk on that, or from the line ministry, implementation department, and agriculture and agriculture cooperation and farmers welfare. So we have two very, very eminent people to give their perspective. So first I would like to invite Dr. Alka Bhargav for giving her perspective. But before that, I will pass on to NMCG and then request them to formally invite the keynote speaker. And I'm sure if the time permits, we will also have the luxury of asking or making some complimentary points to whatever our keynote speakers are saying. So over to NMCG with a request to kindly introduce the speakers and also invite them for delivering their keynote address. And before that, we will also request probably Shri Rajiv Ranjan Mishra, Director General, National Mission for Clean Ganga, to also give his opening remarks on this. So over to NMCG, please.
Thank you so much, sir. Earth Ganga ka अर्थ साथ ही development and river conservation has to go hand in hand. That too in a sustainable way, emphasized by Dr. Tare. आज की थीम एग्रीकल्चर, इस पे बनाया गया एक वीडियो NMCG द्वारा, नेशनल मिशन फॉर क्लीन गंगा, इनके द्वारा बनाया गया ये वीडियो सस्टेनेबल एग्रीकल्चर इन गंगा बेसिन। आपको ये वीडियो हम अभी दिखाना चाहेंगे यहाँ पे। कैन वी हैव इट प्लीज? कैन वी हैव अ लुक?
आध्यात्मिक और सांस्कृतिक महत्वों से परिपूर्ण गंगा नदी भारतीय कृषि की भी जीवन रेखा है। गंगा बेसिन में भारत की लगभग 43% जनसंख्या निवास करती है। गंगा और उसकी सहायक नदियां लगभग 8,60,000 वर्ग किलोमीटर क्षेत्र में कृषि की सिंचाई के लिए पूरे वर्ष जल उपलब्ध कराती है और अपने साथ लाए अलूवियल सॉइल या जलोढ़ मिट्टी से स्थानीय मिट्टी को उर्वरता भी प्रदान करती हैं। गंगा बेसिन में कुल 64.1% कृषि क्षेत्र है, जो कि देश के कुल सिंचित क्षेत्र का लगभग 57% है। गंगा नदी के किनारे कृषि क्षेत्र भौगोलिक रूप से 3 हिस्सों में बटा है। पहला हिमालयन अपर कैचमेंट्स, दूसरा फर्टाइल अलूवियल प्लेन्स और तीसरा डेल्टा रीजन। हिमालयन अपर कैचमेंट्स में मुख्य रूप से बाजरा, धान और मेडिसिनल प्लांट्स की खेती होती है। फर्टाइल अलूवियल प्लेन्स में उगाई जाने वाली प्रधान उपज में मुख्यतः धान, गन्ना, दाल, तिलहन, आलू एवं गेहूं है और डेल्टा रीजन में धान और जूट की खेती होती है। वर्षों से इस्तेमाल किए जा रहे रासायनिक खाद और कीटनाशक से मिट्टी की उर्वरता कम हो रही है और जहरीले केमिकल्स भूमि जल से मिलकर गंगा के जल को भी दूषित कर रहे हैं। सिंचाई में अनावश्यक जल की बर्बादी से भी नदी में जल का स्तर घटता है, जिसकी वजह से गंगा की प्राकृतिक धारा अवरोधित होती है। नमामि गंगे अभियान के तहत गंगा की निर्मलता और अविरलता बनाए रखने के लिए सस्टेनेबल एग्रीकल्चर का प्रचार और प्रसार अति आवश्यक है। इसके अंतर्गत गंगा नदी के तट के दोनों तरफ 5 से 7 किलोमीटर तक जैविक खेती की जाएगी। कृषि वानिकी यानी एग्रो फॉरेस्ट्री के साथ साथ औषधीय पौधों की खेती को प्राथमिकता दी जा रही है। कृषकों को कम पानी की खपत वाली फसलों की महत्ता और जीरो बजट फार्मिंग के लिए प्रोत्साहित किया जा रहा है।
सबसे ज्यादा पानी का उपयोग हमारे यहाँ खेती में होता है कि हमारी सिंचाई के पुराने तौर तरीकों से बहुत सा पानी बर्बाद हो जाता है। इसके अलावा बहुत सी ऐसी फसलें भी हैं जो बहुत ज्यादा पानी चाहती है। इस स्थिति को बदलने के लिए हमें किसानों को वर्षा जल के संचयन के लिए वैकल्पिक फसलों के लिए जागरूक करना होगा। ज्यादा से ज्यादा माइक्रो इरिगेशन की तरफ बढ़ना होगा और इसलिए पर ड्रॉप मोर क्रॉप ये संकल्प हमने खेत में हर किसान तक पहुंचाना पड़ेगा।
नमामि गंगे अभियान के अंतर्गत गंगा के कैचमेंट एरिया में पेड़ लगाकर भूमि जल को रिचार्ज किया जा रहा है और गंगा की अविरलता को सुनिश्चित किया जा रहा है। वहीं गंगा के तट पर वृक्षारोपण कर भूमि कटाव को भी रोका जा रहा है। हम जैविक खेती और जल संरक्षण को प्रोत्साहित करके ही गंगा की निर्मलता और अविरलता सुनिश्चित कर सकते हैं।
Video by National Mission for Clean Ganga, 5th India Water Impact Summit Day 4 में अब मैं इनवाइट करना चाहूंगी डायरेक्टर जनरल NMCG श्री राजीव रंजन मिश्रा जी को, who is also in charge of National River Conservation Directorate. He has been aggressively working in the areas of river basin management, irrigation, environment, water and sanitation, housing and urban development. And as I just mentioned, Sir has a vast experience in the field of irrigation. इसी सबमिट के आज के दिन का जो ये टॉपिक है एंड दैट इज एग्रीकल्चर, इस पे अपने एक्सपीरियंस को शेयर करने के लिए, अपना व्यू पॉइंट रखने के लिए मैं सर को इनवाइट करना चाहूंगी। श्री राजीव रंजन मिश्रा जी, DG NMCG, प्लीज सर।
Professor Tare, the experts for the today's session, and very important colleagues of National Mission for Clean Ganga, Dr. Alka Bhargav and also Dr. Neelam Patel ji from Niti Aayog, and all distinguished participants joining us from different parts of the globe. A very, very warm welcome to all of you from Namami Gange Mission. Professor Tare has given you a kind of overview of how we are working along with the IIT system and trying to develop and implement the river basin management plan. I would just take few minutes to draw the attention of the panelists and also others to share with you about some of the work which started under Namami Gange and then where agriculture fits into that. जब हम खेती की बात करते हैं, कृषि की बात करते हैं, तो हमारे ध्यान में पानी का आना आवश्यक है। नेचुरल तरीके से हमारे ध्यान में आता है कि भाई पानी के बिना खेती कैसे होगी। सो नदी की महत्ता हमें समझ में आती है कि we must have water, we must have source of water, we must have good river so that we can improve our agriculture. किंतु जब आप नदी के स्वास्थ्य की बात करते हैं, when you think of rejuvenating a river, it needs little effort to bring in the focus the role of agriculture sector, and that's what has happened in Namami Gange program with the help of IIT consortium. When we developed the Ganga River Basin Management Plan, one of the sub-mission in that was sustainable agriculture, and primarily we started working looking at making Ganga Nirmal and Aviral, and agriculture is a sector which can help us in both to make Ganga Nirmal, to make Ganga Aviral. Without good agricultural practices, it will not be possible. So I think that is where we started, and we started with a very good arrangement, very good tie-up and collaboration with the concerned ministries, and Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare is the most important ministry with which we started having a collaboration right after the launch of Namami Gange program. Right from 2016-17, this collaboration started. Initially, this collaboration was in the field of organic farming, because when you look at Nirmal Ganga, so organic farming, a lot of programs started, and also about water conservation for Aviralta. This whole thing took a absolutely different scale when in the National Ganga Council meeting, Honorable Prime Minister talked about Earth Ganga. He also gave some mandate about 5 to 7 kilometers both sides of Ganga to be converted into, to be transformed into organic farming. Not only organic farming, he also talked about natural farming, zero budget farming. These were some of the concepts which were discussed during that meeting, and that is where Niti Aayog also was mentioned by him, and then we really are grateful to Niti Aayog for really steering this concept of Earth Ganga, and Vice Chairman, Honorable Vice Chairman and CEO, both of them have taken immense interest in supporting us in development of a framework of Earth Ganga. And some sectors were identified in that. Agriculture and allied sector is perhaps the most important one in that. Apart from that, we have been talking about tourism and culture, the energy sector, and also we have the inland waterways, And something which is important for all of them is environmental sector, and primarily upon wetland biodiversity conservation. So these are also some of the sectors which we have identified. We have started working with the help of Ganga, with the help of IIM Lucknow, and then several other academic institutions, IIT Roorkee. In morning technical sessions, some of the professors who participated, they are also part of that group. So I think they also shared some very nice experience and very good technical idea. I will very quickly come back to the Nirmalta part, the organic farming part, the pollution due to agriculture. Morning, one professor was very nicely explaining about assessment of pollution due to chemical fertilizer. Do we have data? We all talk about it. There's a lot of pollution due to fertilizer, there's a lot of pollution due to pesticides. Like in the case of point source of pollution, sewage drain getting and meeting any river, we know what is the flow, what is the quality of that flow, what kind of pollution it is bringing. Similarly, in case of industrial effluent, perhaps that kind of quantification is one of the major challenge before us, and then that's also a major challenge before the technical community. And we are actually trying to do some research with the help of various institutions that how to assess it. Some suggestions came in the morning about using isotope to basically look at the nitrates, where it is coming, and how much can be attributed to the fertilizers, etc. I think we need to move further on that and then do that kind of research, because once you have these findings, it will be easier for you to convince farmers. Now, organic farming as a strategy of reducing pollution is a good strategy, and we are working on that, and there is good progress has been made. In fact, Dr. Bhargav will be sharing more of the experience and how Agriculture Ministry has been helping us. But just you can get the idea that earlier in Uttarakhand, our scale of organic farming support used to be to the tune of around 1,000 hectares. This year it has gone to 50,000 hectares. So I think there is a huge leap in that. Similarly, in UP also some good integrated kind of proposal has developed about organic farming with other kind of thing. That's very, very important thing, because see, unless you do that, when there is a pollution due to chemicals, it does not only affect the plant, it actually gets into the soil. It also goes into the river. So it affects the life of aquatic animals. It also affects the soil biodiversity. And it's very important to talk about soil, and I will briefly mention about soil little later. Now let's come to water, because water and soil, they are really very important to physical ingredients or components for agriculture. So looking at water, we all know very well, I think everyone is aware, and the agriculture sector abstracts so much of water from the Ganga. The moment Ganga reaches Haridwar and crosses Haridwar right from Bhimgoda barrage, and it's not new thing. I mean, it has, the foundation was laid more than 150 years back during British period with the Ganga Canal, Upper Ganga Canal, and then later on we have Middle and Lower Ganga Canal. So almost 85-90% of the water goes into the agriculture. And we all are aware about the water use efficiency being very low. And that is where perhaps you have to really improve. And if we save even 5 to 10% of that water without really affecting agriculture, the problem of aviralta to a large extent will be solved. We also talk about environmental flow. We have declared that, we have notified that for the first time, trying to basically recognize right of river over its own water. Recently it has been done, but if you look our e-flow notification, apart from how much will be released in monsoon period and non-monsoon period from different barrages, we also very clearly talk about demand side management. And that is where agriculture becomes really very, very important, how we really manage our demand, how we really do our agriculture thing. We will hear from the experts about that. But to ensure health of river, we will have to improve water use efficiency in the agriculture. It's not impossible, but not easy as well. And if we talk about organic farming, if we talk about saving water, why will farmer listen? Especially the farmers in the Ganga basin area, especially those on the bank of river. Let's not look at the entire basin, because one part of the basin is also dry area, I mean the upland area. But the other part, they somehow feel there is a lot of water. What is the incentive for them to save water? So I think perhaps we will have to have a strategy apart from giving them the technology and subsidy for micro irrigation practices. Perhaps we have to also demonstrate that without using so much of water, it is still possible for you to get the same produce, in fact even improve productivity. I had seen it in the state of Andhra Pradesh. I think there was some year where the water was less, and then with good proper water management, it was possible to actually get the same kind of number of paddy bags per acre which was possible earlier. So it is not impossible. We have seen success of micro irrigation in several districts in South India and Western India, because there people are looking at water and then the lack of water. So I think that is something which we have to look at, and the other practice of flood irrigation, etc. will have to convince farmers. I am reminded of one example given by Honorable Prime Minister in one of the conference when he was launching Atal Bhujal Yojana. He gave a very simple example, and he was basically in that audience, some farmers were also there. He said, when you have a small baby, a newborn baby, and they want some milk, you basically give them milk with a bottle. You give little bit of milk because that is what is required. You don't put a bucket of milk on the head of the baby and say that, okay, I mean, we are giving you milk. That's not the practice. That's not really required by the plant also. They don't require so much of water, but we have a practice of flood irrigation. Now, what happens, not only we are wasting water, we are also affecting the soil. We are also leading to soil erosion and problems of soil. Before we move further, perhaps it's time, morning someone was very rightly mentioning, I think 2 or 3 speakers talked about soil, which was very nice, because normally we talk in agriculture and we really don't give that kind of importance to the soil. Time has come. See, the water has the annual cycle of replenishment and utilization, whereas soil cycle goes into hundreds of years, even thousands of years to get the topsoil made. And the way we are neglecting, the way we are polluting, the soil degradation. Now, how to assess that soil degradation? I think Ministry of Agriculture is very rightly, government is giving lot of importance to the soil testing. So I think that's very important. I am just reminded of some sayings by one Professor Montgomery, who is a leading soil scientist. He talks about soil and says it's one of the major crises of civilization. We talk about climate change, we talk about everything else, but perhaps we don't really realize that the conventional agriculture is leading to so much of loss of soil, and what should be done. And similarly, this year's World Food Prize winner, Professor Ratan Lal, I was hearing him somewhere, and he was very nicely talking about right of the soil. Time has come. Soil is also like a bank account, he was talking, and saying that you cannot draw more than what is actually you have put in the bank account, and he was talking about time has come to talk about the right of soil. We started in our mission talking about right of the river over its own water and notified environmental flow. We also, through our notification, we have also recognized right of water, right of river over its own land. Floodplain is its land. So I think you should also have some regulation there. So similarly, I think the time has come to talk a little bit about this also, soil, and then discuss then what exactly could be done. I will also just like to flag, we will not have time to get into that. We are talking of agriculture, but in the Earth Ganga, agriculture sector, when we talk, we should also keep in account several allied sectors. We must keep into consideration fisheries, immediately comes to mind, contributes immensely to the GDP, and without a kind of good strategy for fisheries development, we will not be able to achieve our results. So I think Dr. Bhargav is aware. I think we are having continuous meetings, and then with her help, we have also gone to the fisheries ministry, and then concerned officers are also working with us. When we started this mission, biodiversity conservation was given a lot of priority, and afforestation also was given priority. We started good scientific forestation along the banks of river. The plan was made by Forest Research Institute. So in that plan also, if you see, they have basically divided river into 3 areas. One is of course the urban river escape, one is the natural river escape, and the major part, almost 40%, 50% of the entire thing is agri-river escape. So what kind of plantations should be done, what kind of forestry should be done in the agriculture area has been also developed scientifically. This is one of the innovative work done here. Now Ministry of Environment and Forest is developing similar kind of afforestation scientific plan for 13 more rivers in the country on the same line, and FRI is helping us. So when we are looking at fishery, we had also given a project to CIFRI, the Central Inland Fishery Research Institute, again overall part of the Ministry of Agriculture. ICAR institutions have been helping us. So actually they have notified, they have done a kind of mapping of all the fishes. More than 190 species of fishes are available in the Ganga, and then what is their health, etc. has been done. And through that program, a link between fishermen and farmer has to be introduced, so that I think the allied activity can really help in improvement of the income, and then we are working on that. We are also trying to link fishermen with the conservation of dolphin, because the threat comes from them, so they are the one, if they be sensitized, they will perhaps save the dolphins also. So we are looking at, we will have to look at dairy, we will have to look at floriculture, agroforestry, several other allied things we will have to look. But for us, the most important partner remains Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, and through them we are trying to develop a much bigger network and work with each one of them. Challenges are huge, but we are making progress. Niti Aayog, Ministry of Agriculture, other ministries, they are all helping us. IIT, this particular India Water Impact Summit, we have given focus upon this. Idea is development should be synchronized with conservation. Unless we conserve, see, when we talk of river, the river is not just, Ganga is not just one river. Ganga includes all river, all water bodies, the wetlands. Wetlands are very important. If you talk of fisheries, I think the wetlands can increase so much of income, and so much of economy can improve with good, proper wetland conservation. So I think all these things are important, and all these things have to go in an integrated manner. What exactly we are doing, what is our vision, how we should do it, all these advice we will listen to the experts from Dr. Bhargav and also Dr. Patel. They will share us. Tomorrow in the valedictory, Honorable Vice Chairman Niti Aayog has also agreed to join us. So we will also have benefit when we will closing this conference. We will have benefit of his vision. It's a long conference, if you say 5 days, but the kind of energy, the kind of diverse experts who have joined this conference, including at the level of Chief Minister, several union ministers have joined. So I think it has really drawn attention of policy makers, which will certainly help us in moving ahead and carrying forward our task with the collaboration of everyone. So once again, I welcome Dr. Bhargav and Dr. Patel, and we are all ears to listen to your advice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, DG sir. Developing such agriculture practices, जिससे हमारी नदियाँ जो एग्रीकल्चर में खास भूमिका निभाती हैं, उनका पानी वेस्ट न हो, और फिर पानी दूषित न हो एग्रीकल्चर वेस्ट से। इन सब अहम मुद्दों पे आज डिस्कशन हो रहा है 5th इंडिया वाटर इम्पैक्ट समिट में, आज डे 4, जिसमें इट्स आवर प्रिविलेज टू हैव डॉक्टर अलका भार्गव विद अस. डॉक्टर अलका भार्गव, she is Additional Secretary in the Department of Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmers Welfare. Her primary responsibilities include overseeing the works associated with natural resource management, international cooperation, integrated nutrient management, and rain-fed system. She belongs to 1987 batch of Indian Forest Services. Her earlier assignments have given her a wide perspective of community development through the tools of engagement in forest management, vocational education, and skill development, and now sustainable agriculture. इस समिट में अपने बहुमूल्य विचार व्यक्त करने के लिए I would like to call upon Dr. Alka Bhargav. Over to you, ma'am, please.
Thank you so much. And at the outset, I would like to thank NMCG for giving us this opportunity to share our works and also what we are looking ahead, and also to partner with the very important consortium which you put in place, the IITs and the IIMs, so that we know the production side, but the business side could probably be brought in from that perspective. So, good morning, Mr. Mishra, DG NMCG, Professor Tare, and ED NMCG, and my co-panelist Neelamji. At the outset, I'll just give a brief on what we've been doing till now and what are the plans ahead. So like what DG had mentioned also, our partnership with NMCG started in 2016, basically with the concept of organic farming, because there is a strong kind of a symbiotic relation between water, rivers and agriculture. Because if you have sustainable agriculture, you have good agriculture practices, the waters will remain healthy, and in reverse, we get good water for doing agriculture. So when in the first MOU we had in 16, we were looking at 1657 gram panchayats in the 5 Ganga states, and basically it was for organic farming and some amount of micro irrigation and the water conservation measures. But as has been mentioned, when Honorable Prime Minister gave us the idea of Arth Ganga, then we have also kind of expanded our ambit, our work, to make it more of a market-driven concept. Because only then will the farmers be able to fructify their efforts, their production, etc. So we're looking at basically still organic farming and the clusters which have been developed. But around those same clusters, we are putting in horticulture, agroforestry, good water conservation practices, which is not just micro irrigation, but also changing cropping patterns, crop diversification, those kind of things. And when we talk about agroforestry, then an important component for all these 5 states is bamboo. So this is the entire gamut of things which we are kind of trying to focus in these clusters. And these could then probably develop as model clusters to be adapted in other parts of these states or even in other parts of the country. So if we look at organic, we've had considerable progress. Like in the first phase 1, there were about, we had covered about 23,000 hectares. But now in the second phase, it's about more than 1 lakh hectares. So in total, we covered about 1.27 lakh hectares in 2 phases under organic farming. And this includes the Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, that is our PKVY scheme, which had been running since 15-16. But also the zero budget national farming, which has come in last year as a part of PKVY. And we call it Bharatiya Paddhati Krishi Pariyojana, BPKP. So Uttarakhand and UP both have given us these proposals also. So that could be another dimension of chemical-free, organic, even any kind of additional input-free farming. So that will have a big impact on the health of the rivers also. And what you very rightly pointed out is the story begins from healthy soils. So that is one important component focus for the ministry, not just in this region, but through our massive soil health card programs, where more than 10 crores and then 11 crore farmers were given soil health cards in 2 cycles. So that is where we are propagating balanced use of fertilizer, integrated nutrient management. Even if you're using chemical fertilizers, it has to be in the ideal proportion. And now for this Ganga districts, it is clearly a no to chemical fertilizers, and we're trying to wean them off from chemical farming to organic. But again, here the issue is that only when the farmer gets a ready market and gets better prices, only then he would be encouraged to move to organic. Now we've seen in this pandemic period, there has been a big surge in demand for organic and safe food. So that is the right time for us to pitch in. And for that, we've got we mapped some of the crops which have already been growing, like in Uttarakhand, there is a lot of amaranthus and black soybean. These are all the very niche products, in addition to the regular vegetables and all. Then you have a lot of pahari dal, jisko kehte hain. Now, in fact, wherever we are having these kind of rural hearts and things, even here in Delhi Hat or other places where the self-help groups and etc. from Uttarakhand and the hilly areas are coming and bringing the road traditional pulses and lentils. I mean, that has a different flavor. So these are the kind of things we should capture and bring them to the market, so that, it's not just for nutritious food, but also encourages the traditional cropping patterns to come back. Otherwise, it's just going to wheat and paddy, and which, as we've seen over the years, has had a detrimental effect on the soil also. Not that to say that during that period when it started, that was the need of the country to increase food production and make us food self-sufficient. So that we've achieved. In fact, we are in a state of surplus and becoming one of the major agri-produce exporters also. So now it's time to go back, and also like Professor Dare had mentioned about the traditional wisdom, this is the time when traditional wisdom and modern science are to be brought together. So we are working closely with ICR and their research backup, and then the translation to the field is done through our programmatic interventions. There is a huge scope for floriculture, and also all the nutri-cereals, the millets, which need to be brought back to our plate. So we do have MSP for two of the nutri-cereals also, but then these are coming back in the diet of the urban nutrition conscious people, but also it could be brought back into PDS, even midday meals. So those kind of things will have an incentive for the farmers to cultivate more of these produce. Then coming to micro irrigation, we're doing one component of the Prime Minister Krishi Sinchai Yojana, which is called Per Drop More Crop, which Honorable Prime Minister also referred in the small film which has been put together by NMCG. And this, in fact, it is basically for water conservation, but it is more for, if we have to sell this idea to the farmers, it is more about increasing productivity also. Because once you're using sprinkler or micro, the labor cost goes down, your fertilizer consumption goes down, so the input costs, your power requirement goes down, so your input cost is reduced, while at the same time you are increasing the productivity to as high as 40%, 60% depending on the various crops. So in return, you're getting more income. Through that small bit of farmers' contribution, which we have in this micro irrigation scheme, where we give a subsidy of 55% and 45% to the small marginal farmers and other farmers, but most of the states are topping it up with the subsidy portion, the farmers' contribution portion. So the contribution for the farmers is fairly low, but in return they have a lot of productivity increases, so a lot of returns. Then happy to also inform that Uttarakhand has sent their proposal, has been approved under the micro irrigation fund, which has been established under NABARD, where you get a interest subvented loan of interest subvention of 3%. So Uttarakhand has started it for their tea gardens. So we're looking forward to such proposals from the other states also. But when we talk about the cropping patterns, one very important concept which we have is integrated farming systems, where these models have been developed by ICR. And this because looking at the constantly shrinking land piece generation to generation, is that in the same plot, you have a mix of activities. You have agriculture, horticulture, fisheries, duckery, poultry, agroforestry. So there is a fallback mechanism. If one crop doesn't do that well, then the farmer has a fallback option. It's very good for risk management and also for climate resilience. So these are the things which we are trying to propagate in this. And in the same context, you have integrated organic farming systems. So these are two very important models, and these in fact form part of this budget announcement also this year. So there is a concerted focus on this, and also when we talk about the small farmers, there is this big scheme of farmer producer organizations which has been launched a couple of months back, in which we are having dedicated FPOs for organic farming and dedicated FPOs for agroforestry, bamboo, as well as integrated farming systems. So that will kind of have economies of scale and increase their bargaining power, and they would also be able to take better benefits from the recently promulgated acts, the Farm Price Assurance and Farm Services Act, which is in short you can call as contract farming, because then they will be able to have also farm services and one component of this act. So they will also be able to harness better technology and have market-led production, so that they have a ready market, not just domestic, but also exports, because then they can also learn about the various international standards, the compliances required. So our position in the export market strengthens further. And this belt is very important for production of medicinal plants, health foods like the nutri-cereals, a lot of fruits and vegetables. So we're trying to pitch India also as a health and safe food destination. So these farmers, in fact, for the Namami Gange produce, we've also got a separate logo made and a tagline so that this stands out more separately and has a niche product for the global markets as well as our own markets. Right. So and then. If we talk about horticulture, basically the target is to raise quality planting material, and that is being done through the National Horticulture Board also, and also to develop the cold chain right from the pack houses at the farm gate up to the market. So here again, I would like to mention also the recent scheme of Ministry of Food Processing Industry, that is the Prime Minister's formalization of micro food enterprises. So that can be a very useful way of bringing our unorganized sector, which is due to food processing, especially for the minor forest produce or medicinal plants or various other local produce which is being done, because then they come into the formal sector, they have a registration number, they have FSSAI compliances, etc., and hence better markets. So that was about a short background about the traditional agriculture. But then when we speak about agroforestry and bamboo, just yesterday I was reading, in fact, Honorable CM of Uttar Pradesh has declared that there will be a lot of bamboo plantations along the river banks in eastern UP. So the National Bamboo Mission is being implemented on all 4 states except West Bengal, and the same way for agroforestry it is being done in 3 states, that is in UP, Bihar, and Jharkhand. Because in agroforestry we have a kind of a prerequisite to facilitate, incentivize farmers to grow trees, is that particular state should have exempted certain species from transit rules, because otherwise the farmers were having a lot of problems after the tree matured on his own farms, even for having it, for felling it, and for transit. So all in 3 states we are implementing this. And also UP has given us a very good integrated action plan cutting across all these departments. So that is the way it should be, because then only we'll be able to have consolidated clusters and visible impacts. So that was the kind of background. And also when we talk about this micro irrigation, we are also working with the MNRE to put in more and more of solar pumps, so that there is less pressure on the traditional electricity and power supply, and also whatever surplus the farmers generate, they can give it back to the grid. So it kinds of, it's an incentive also to draw less water, to use the solar pumps less. So like Gujarat has done, wherever they are putting solar pumps, the micro irrigation has been made mandatory. So that is the way where you can actually, what Honorable Prime Minister also says, number of times he said it about making Annadata into Urja Data. So they have solar pumps, they use that for the minimum requirement of water irrigation, and then they transfer the surplus to the grid, and they get returns for that. So that was one. And then also Professor Tare spoke about the climate change aspect also. So we are also anchoring the National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture, where most of these things are there, as we have 10 parameters which are monitored and reported quarterly to Environment Ministry, which is the nodal for climate change affairs. So we have organic farming there, then precision irrigation, then improved practices, especially for paddy, that is SRI and DSR, which we are trying to encourage the farmers in these states also, because it drastically reduces the water requirement, less labor intensive, and you can move into mechanization. So again, less labor and more production. Then also we have introduction of climate resilient varieties, which is becoming more and more important, both drought tolerant and flood tolerant, and basically generally climate resilient, which ICR is developing, and we transfer it to the field through our programmatic interventions of the seed program as well as our agriculture programs. Then in this area, again, biofuel can be a major source of income for the farmers, is that they can diversify from the traditional sugarcane to maize, or even use sugarcane for ethanol production. And also this new program Govardhan, which has been launched by Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation, where a lot of these compressed biogas plants are being set up, both crop residue as well as cow dung, for generation of biofuel, as well as there is a very good fertilizer is also produced as a byproduct. So both solid biofertilizer as well as the slurry. So the solid has already been included in our fertilizer control order and can be marketed easily. So these are some of the things which we have been taking, the steps which we've been taking, and some of the agro-based industry which came to our mind immediately, and we would want the consortium also to help us out in that, is that from Uttarakhand, there's a lot of potential for nutritious cereals, not just the grain, but value addition in the sense of like you have confectionery, you have the soba noodles of the famous soba noodles of Japan. They're actually kutu noodles. So, the states where kutu or buckwheat is possible, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, so they can also make these kind of food stuff, which is very, very much required in contemporary markets. Then vegetables, we've also got a program of linking the horticulture produce to some of the metros. So clusters are being formed based again on the state proposals, and some of them can be export oriented, or you have direct supply chains to the metros. And then in the sugar rich areas where I spoke about the biofuel, but also instead of sugar you can make it into jaggery, which is much more in demand now than the white sugar which we have been consuming all this while. Then, medicinal plants, we are also working with the National Medicinal Plant Board for both tree-borne medicinal species as well as the organic medicinal plants. So this again, Uttarakhand and the other states can really bring this up. Then Chandoli, black rice is very important. Black rice has much more nutrition than the white rice, so that can be marketed as well as the other traditional crops. So that was in a nutshell which I wanted to speak about. And again, we would be working closely with NMCG of how to have market-led production here. And in fact, some of the other sectors can also be dovetailed in agriculture. Like when you talk about tourism, agri-tourism can be a big thing. Because a lot of the urban, bred children and even the adults, they would probably have never seen how rice is grown or how the vegetables are grown. So I was in fact suggesting in the last meeting which we had that in the tourist circuit, you can also include some of the very good agriculture areas also. So that was in short which I wanted to share with you, and I look forward to the further discussions today and also how we can take this program forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing your valuable thoughts, Dr. Alka Bhargav. Field which needs a lot of attention and correction in many ways, agriculture and especially irrigation. इसी पे डिटेल में आज चर्चा हो रही है 5th इंडिया वाटर इम्पैक्ट समिट में, जिसमें अब मैं इनवाइट करना चाहूँगी हमारी अगली गेस्ट को. We are humbled with the presence of Dr. Neelam Patel. She is the Senior Advisor Agriculture in Niti Aayog. Dr. Neelam Patel is an accomplished researcher. She did her graduation in agricultural engineering from Allahabad Agriculture Institute in 1994. She completed her master's degree from Indian Institute of Technology 1996, and then in 2007 she did her doctoral degrees from Indian Agriculture Research Institute. She has conducted a large number of training programs for state government officials and farmers for popularizing precision farming technologies, including those which were developed by herself. She is the principal scientist and in charge in Center for Protected Cultivation Technology, and her passion for this field has got her many awards and appreciation. Dr. Neelam Patel, request you to please share your thought, ma'am.
First, I would like to thank Dr. Mishra, DG, NMCG, and Professor Tamil for giving us the opportunity to speak in this very important summit. And I also welcome my co-panelist, Dr. Alka Bhargav. She is having a lot of experience and we are working together. And in fact, Professor Vinodji already covered several things, and then my co-panelist, Dr. Alka Bhargav, is also touched several issues of the agriculture. But still, I will cover a few things on which Niti Aayog is putting more emphasis. First is, if you see in fact, India has achieved the food security, but we have to achieve the nutrition security. So to achieve the nutrition security, there are certain challenges that our country is having in the agriculture sector. And if you see the gaps in the farming non-farmer incomes, it is increasing with the time. And because of this phenomena, people are migrating from the villages to the cities, and particularly about the young population. And second, it is very difficult to bring many technological interventions in the field, since our more than 86% farmers are from small and marginal categories, and high input cost. And we are very happy that in this mission Earth Ganga, this 5 to 7 kilometers will be covered under the natural farming and the organic farming. So one way we are going to reduce the input cost. And since this our green revolution was launched in our country to have the food security at that time, so farmers are particularly following the monocultures. And in this irrigated area in the Ganga basin, mostly you will get this monocultures. And here, this one of the objectives also to increase the GDP contribution of the agriculture, since we are having about 43% employment here in agriculture. And our experts already talked about the new diversification and value addition. So we have to shift from the monoculture to diversification, to have the different diversified cropping systems, and the value addition from the farmware to the market. And since in one hand we are talking about to enhance the productivity and nutrition security, and the second hand we are wasting a lot of our food produce. And particularly to decrease the wastage, we have to have this processing facility at the block level, at the village level, not at the city level. And to have this food security, we are depleting our natural resources, particularly water and soil. And because of this depletion, this agriculture, the business as usual is not sustainable. So we have to make it sustainable, and then only we can have this long-term food and nutrition security. And recently that you are already listening, that agriculture marketing and contract farming, we regulated. So the farmers have given the freedom to have the market, to use this any market of the country to sell their produce, and to have the contract with the any agency or company to get the better prices. So these are the amendments were made in the Essential Commodities Act also to encourage the investment in the cold chain. And as we know that if you see the annual water demand by various sectors, agriculture is the major consumer of water. And we are having more than 100 million hectares under irrigation. But to have the nutrition security, we have to have about 160 million hectares by 2025. And then that time, the water which will be available for the agriculture will be in the tune of about 69 to 70%. So the challenge will be to have to get the production by using the least quantity of water. And if you see as a country, we are already aware, we are having this stage of groundwater extraction is more, particularly in the river basin area. So therefore, we have to have this measures to conserve the water. And Professor Vinodji already mentioned in his introductory lecture that we have to have some policies, that we are having policies, but we have to convince farmers also, so that we can get the actual benefit of our policies at the field level. And if you see the basin-wise irrigation efficiency, the overall irrigation efficiency is 38%, but 27% is Krishna, Godavari, Kaveri and Mahanadi, and 43 to 47% is this in Ganga river systems. And but in the rural, where we are having the groundwater irrigation, there we are able to achieve the 70 to 80%. So we have to make the attempt to achieve this, and then if we can see the virtual water use for crops in our country, and if we have to make the comparison with the US and China, our water use efficiency is very low, and because of this very huge water use efficiency, we are using lot of amount of water in growing rice, wheat, soybean. Here you can see in only one, because in the first introductory speech, that the rice and wheat is the major soybean sugar cane in this Ganga basin, this Earth Ganga. So therefore, here the farmers are using lot of water, but we don't need that amount of water. We can make this some improvement in the irrigation efficiency. And if we make the comparison US and China, there's a lot of scope is there to achieve that productivity with using less amount of water. And this all can be achieved by adopting that our micro irrigation and water canning system, improving water canning system. So these are the some technology interventions which we are doing, and we have to do because we don't have any other choice. And if we see the sustainability challenges in the forefront, we have to have our agriculture so that it can be climatically resilient to shocks, increasing productivity, while maintaining the soil health means to soil degradation we should not allow now, and efficiency and sustainability in water use means we have to take care of the ever depleting water levels. And this Earth Ganga is a holistic concept that all are working together. Now we have to have the striking balance between economics and ecology. We cannot work only on the economics, and on the other hand, we cannot work on ecology also independently. So we have to harness the economic potential, keeping the biodiversity at the forefront, and ecological damage will result in permanent loss in economic potential. Sustainability must be at the forefront for the now policy making efforts, and promoting sustainable water use in agriculture must be recorded a priority part of the sustainability effort that we are making already. So one of the solutions that are already included in agroecology farming, we call it natural farming or organic farming, but the worldwide they are the different countries, they are promoting this in the name of agroecology farming. And agroecology farming is the definition, a movement, a science, and a practice, a transdisciplinary approach. So agroecological practices are there because they are capable to harness, maintain, and enhance biological and ecological process in agriculture production in order to reduce our purchase input, which we have talked that including fossil fuels and agrochemicals to create most diverse, resilient, and productive agro systems. So here, why this agroecological or natural farming is becoming need of the hour for our country. If you see this, one of the recommendation from the ICR, National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, that we have to apply nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium in the ratio of 4 to 1. So, and we are having the recommended dose for the different crops. But if you see the response of the crops with the application of the fertilizer, in 60 and 69 at the beginning of the Green Revolution, when we apply 1 kg of NPK, we are getting 12.1 kg grain. But with time in 2010 to 17, when we apply 1 kg of NPK, we are getting only 5 kg of the grain. So the response of the fertilizer is becoming very poor, and our soils are not deficient in the micronutrient, and the ratio is not the ideal. If you see the average of the North Zone, we are applying the nitrogen in the 19.7, phosphorus in 5.6, and potassium is only 1. But this recommended is NPK is 4 to 1. So here you can see this North Zone and South Zone and the Northeast. And here you can see the Northeast and the East Zone is matching with the recommended dose of fertilizer. Therefore, here the soil health of the East Zone is particularly better in comparison to these other 4 zones. So, and this type of imbalance can be corrected, and the soil health can be improved with our efforts that we are making in our missions. that to have the 5 to 7 kilometers under the natural farming and the organic farming. And the natural farming management practices, what we considered soil as a living entity, and this desi cow-based system means animal-based system, and earthworms and microbes play a key role in the soil health, mulching with the crop residue, use of renewable energy, conservation of soil and rainwater, use of home-made formulation, and intercropping and crop diversity. So these are the indicators. Because of these indicators, only the natural farming is becoming sustainable. And under Niti Aayog, we are working constantly to promote this natural farming or chemical-free farming in the country. And in the July 2018, we are making the sustainable effort under the chairmanship of our Vice Chairman, Honorable Vice Chairman Niti Aayog. And the first conference on natural farming was held in July 2018. And recently, in the September, we had 2 days national level consultation with the line ministry, and involving all the stakeholders, all the state governments and the private and all the farmers organization also, and then here we involve the private entrepreneurs and this marketing people also, so that the farmers should get the remunerative price, those who adopt that type of farming practices, so that we can motivate them not only the production side but also to get the good prices. And now this our draft paper is ready, and very soon we are going to have a full web portal in the Niti Aayog on the natural farming. It will be in the all natural languages, and now we are having the sufficient data depicting the scientific validation of this technology and the success story of the different states, because then it will help the other farmers to adopt this technology. So these are our efforts to promote this natural farming, and Andhra Pradesh is already leading, and they have now opened a different department. They have made a different specific department on the name of the natural farming, and their recommendation is that the cost of cultivation was reduced 20 to 30% in paddy and cotton and the Bengal crop. And their ambitious plan is to converting 80% of Andhra Pradesh agriculture land in the natural farming. And then same thing we are having now in Haryana, that and Gujarat and UP, Kerala and Tamil Nadu, these are the states those who are coming very well, and they are promoting this natural farming. And then when in our ecosystems, these animals are having the important role to play. So these farmers, these animals, particularly the non-mulching animals, with times becomes unsustainable, and this is the problem with the farmers. So these are the type of model is very much sustainable for this this like Bundelkhand region, where we are having a lot of non-mulching animals. So this biogas slurry linked micro-irrigation system. So here we are using our traditional knowledge, and then also the new technology of the water application. So how the farmers just filtrate this slurry, and they use that slurry through the micro-irrigation, and that this solid portion is in the form of fertilizer, which they applied as a basal dose. So here we have attempted in 73 farmers' field, and we are able to get the data from the farmers' field directory, and the dose is 4 liters per meter square. This biogas slurry is sufficient to meet the nutritional demand of the crop. So this type of systems are having the potential to adapt to linked with the micro-irrigation system, and then this micro-irrigation slurry can be mixed with this, biogas slurry can be mixed with the tube well water like this. This is the farmers are lifting the slurry, then they are mixing. Here you can see the water is, tube well water is coming, and then they are mixing this slurry, and it is going to the through the conventional system, that the flood irrigation, and then also the farmers are able to get good yield, increase in yield 15.2%, and then water saving up to 25%. So energy, if you see the energy saving and integrated water, irrigation water productivity is also better and increase. So therefore, these type of models which can be adopted in this program, and the farmers will be motivated because they are able to save the amount of fertilizer here, and then this insecticide and pesticide also. And it, Alka madam already told about this good progress on the organic production that we are making in our country. And now to make this simplicity in the certification of the product, of either the organic product or the natural farming product, these efforts are made by the ministry, and already task force was constituted, and then now these amounts were easier, so that the farmers have not to wait, not have to go here and there for their certification, and so we are promoting this technology. And now this storage structures we need to have, because we are getting the good rainfall. So this type of storage structure, this is model 1, where this rainwater can be stored and can be used through the micro irrigation systems on the basis of the crop water demand. And this is model 1, where the water harvesting like this, you can see, under the Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture, these poly houses and segment houses were promoted. So we are getting good quality water, and that can be stored in the reservoirs, and this water will be used again for the raising the crop, because this water is good quality water, and having the capability to meet the water demand up to 3 to 4 months of the crop. So therefore, by this way also, this water conservation can be attempted. And the second model, which is very promising, that is groundwater discharge and use of portable sprinkler systems. Since we know that the farmers are not putting their land or the water harvesting structures, so this type of model, here the farmer can take 2 crops by using the portable model, this portable sprinkler, and during the rainy season, the same structure can be used for the groundwater discharge. And here from our study, we found that 2,50,895 was income from the designed structures. And the size of the structure was 80 meter into 50 meter. So here you can see this type of models having potential for the farmers, those who are having the small land holding, then the same land can be used for the recharge, and the same land can be used for the taking 2 crops in the consecutive time. And here the soil quality becomes very good, because the water which is coming from the nearby field, it is having lots of nutrients and the sediments. So therefore, the yield of this particular structure is more than the consecutive this nearby different fields. And when we estimated the virtual water for the water footprint for the different crops under the conventional and micro irrigation, you can see in wheat and onion, potato and tomato, because these are the important crops. And as per the estimate, 10% increase in the water efficiency can add 15 million hectare under the irrigation. So this is the potential, and this economic feasibility already made for the different crops. So this is only to motivate the farmers that if they will change their farming practices, they adopt the new methods of cultivation, either new crops, new types of irrigation system, and then natural farming, organic farming, they are going to have the better crop with better prices. And then now in the COVID time, people are more aware about, they got this about the to enhance the immunity of the consumers. So there, our this natural farming and organic product are having the bigger role to play. And then if we club this organic farming technology with the new technology interventions like solar energy or cold storage and value chain, then processing, FPO, which Alka madam already addressed, so that this farmers' income can be doubled, which is the dream of our Honorable Prime Minister, and on which we are working together, so that this farmers' income can be doubled, and the farmers' this misery can be reduced with time. So these are some way forward, that food policy must move beyond staple grains that already covered, to have the including diverse, nutrient-rich food that now we are promoting core cereal, putting in PDS, pulses, and then escalate adoption of climate resilient farming system. Incentives, we have to have some incentives for the farmer, those who are going to adopt agroecological systems, and we are already working with the line ministry to have the similar kind of support which organic farmers are getting, artificial farmers also, and the payment for the environmental services rendered, and inform, communicate and tell farmers about agroecological practices, and this is the target for, this should be the target for all KVKs and ICR systems, so that the farmers should get the good agriculture practices and encourage collectivization of the farmers through PO, and then leverage agriculture infrastructure fund to establish post-harvesting infrastructure in other community farming assets to reduce wastage and to improve primary processing capability, develop performance measures to broaden focus beyond yield, like water intensity and emissions produced, and then this last, digital technology, like this already it was told that use of isotopes to quantify the movement of nitrates from one place to other place, and then we have to use the sensors and weather data in investigators and promote that we are doing. So we have to then scientific validation of this indigenous food systems, ensure quality certification, traceability, and here the blockchain can be leveraged because it is having the potential so that the farmers can get the good price for their produce and generate an awareness in the consumers also, so that they should come forward to purchase this green product. And we have to have promote the local foods and promote Indian superfoods like amaranthus versus quinoa, buckwheat versus oats, wheat greens versus kale, also madam already covered. And so these are some of the points on which we can work together, and we can cover, bring this agriculture more sustainable, particularly of the 5 to 7 kilometers under the Earth Ganga program. Thank you very much.
A detailed presentation on the steps, efforts made by Niti Aayog in the field of agriculture, and definitely आगे future में भी क्या किया जा सकता है इस field में share किया गया by Dr. Neelam Patel, Senior Advisor Agriculture, Niti Aayog. Thank you so much, ma'am. And now, for vote of thanks, I would like to invite Executive Director Finance, National Mission for Clean Ganga, Mr. Rosie Agrawal. Please, sir.
Good afternoon to all delegates and participants from India, and good morning and good evening to all who have joined from various parts of the world. The 5th edition of IWIS has truly turned out to be a global affair, with large number of experts, eminent personalities and delegates joining us live from various sectors also. As we all know, the prime activity along Ganga remains agriculture, and hence any development plan along the Ganga belt has to majorly focus on sustainable agriculture and on promoting agri-related activities. This is also a very key agenda under the Earth Ganga, where we are aiming to promote sustainable economic development in the region as per the guidance of Honorable Prime Minister. On the day 4 of India Water Impact Summit, the plenary session took up discussion on river conservation synchronized with sustainable agriculture by an eminent panel comprising of top decision makers from the Government of India, that is Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, and also top experts from the Niti Aayog. We had a very enlightening and expert discussion on the subject, focusing on ways ahead for promoting sustainable agriculture in Ganga belt. And we also saw a beautiful movie which showed how agriculture is important in the Ganga belt alongside. For this very enriching discussion, I would like to propose a vote of thanks to Dr. Alka Bhargav, Additional Secretary, Department of Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmers Welfare, for giving an insight into whole gamut of initiatives taken by your Ministry for Organic Farming, Horticulture Development, Agroforestry, Micro-irrigation support, and other which will definitely lead to sustainable agriculture in the Ganga belt. Ma'am, you also talked about alternative agriculture opportunities for the farmers, and also various inputs which are going to increase the incomes of the farmers in the years to come. You also touched upon a very important aspect of agri-tourism and how good a potential it has along the banks of Ganga. Ma'am, we have been engaged with you in the past as well and have benefited by your actions and vision, and you remain a very valuable partner in our drive towards sustainable and organic agriculture in the region, which supports Avralta and Nimbalta of River Ganga. Thanks very much, ma'am, for joining us today and for your valuable contributions and views. I would also thank Dr. Neelam Patel, Senior Advisor, Agriculture from Niti Aayog, for an expert view on the subject, and especially apprising us on the thought process at the topmost level as to how to promote economic development in agrarian environment like a Ganga region, which must go in hand with river conservation. Ma'am, you also talked about maintaining a balance between economics and ecology, and also how natural farming is becoming very important and a very potent tool in promoting agriculture in the belt as well, ma'am. You also showed us a lot of important points as way ahead, which will definitely take us forward in this most important sector of agri farming, especially in the Ganga belt. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your expert advice. I also thank Dr. Tare for the context setting at the beginning of the session and for overall objective of the summit in a very lucid manner. And true to your profession, sir, we take your expert advice on keeping primacy on river conservation and developing economic models which are in sync with river ecology. You also made a very compelling comparison between two roaring tigers, one development and the other river conservation, and how you can put them together to become a very potent and powerful vehicle for development, especially under Earth Ganga. And you also talked about how both development and river conservation are two sides of the same coin. Thank you very much, sir. The subject of sustainable agriculture, especially in the context of Earth Ganga, is being driven by Shri Rajiv Ranjan Mishra, DG NMCG, in his capacity as the head of Clean Ganga Mission. And we thank you, sir, for your very passionate views on the subject, especially on developing an ecosystem which promotes development along with protecting the diverse interests of the river. So you very rightly said that this summit actually has brought a lot of focus, not only from the top shot in the political arena, but also from diverse experts and eminent speakers from various sectors, sir. Thanks very much, sir, for your views, sir. I also thank our partners and viewers who have joined us live and for supporting us in this endeavor. There's a lot more coming up today in the afternoon session and also in the next days, including the valedictory session towards the end of the day tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining us. Keep watching, and Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, and thanks a lot to all our prominent guests and speakers in this session of 5th India Water Impact Summit, Day 4. And now I would like to give a brief on upcoming sessions. हमारा अगला session, जो कि है session D3, नॉर्वे से join करेंगे हमारे speakers, and they will be speaking on harnessing the riverine circular economy potential. हमारा उसके बाद का अगला session जो होगा वो होगा session B4, capital markets for water financing. Session C4 में बात होगी sustainable agriculture की, and then last session जो कि होगा session D4, यूरोप से ज्वाइन करेंगे हमें हमारे स्पीकर्स, एंड दे विल बी स्पीकिंग ऑन वाटर एनर्जी, लैंड नेक्सस एंड हाई इम्पैक्ट प्रोजेक्ट्स. थैंक यू सो मच वंस अगेन ईच एंड एवरी वन ऑफ यू जो कि हमारे साथ में ज्वाइन किए हुए हैं. अगला सेशन कुछ ही मिनटों बाद. थैंक यू सो मच वंस अगेन.